question. If a Roman would have tortured a child in front of Jesus to get him to react, would he have missed his ascension had he tried to react by stopping this evil act? What about the free will of the child who does not want to be tortured? Does respecting the free will of others mean that we allow evil people to steal our free will without reacting? Why the free will from evil people has to be respected, but our free will to not accept to have a child tortured or killed will have the consequence to miss our ascension if we react and say, no more, I have enough of these evil acts. Jesus, well, as we have attempted to explain many times, the central challenge for people in embodiment on an unnatural planet is free will. So free will, I cannot in an answer like this give you a really deep insight into free will and resolve all of the intricacies of free will. But let's take the concrete question to begin with. If somebody had tortured a child in front of me and I had reacted, would I have missed my ascension? Well, the answer is yes, if I had reacted from the human level. But there are ways to react that are not from the human level. And so you have the situation with Gautama Buddha sitting under the Bo tree. He's ready to go into nirvana, but as his final test, he has to face the demons of Mara, and the demons of Mara are trying to do anything they can to get him to react. So, in that situation, and they did worse things than tortured a child, I can assure you, in that situation, any reaction from the Buddha would have meant he was not ready to go into nirvana. So, when you are in that situation, you are facing the final initiation on earth. Yes, you can have no reactions. But as long as you are not at the point of your ascension, you can react. But of course, the question is, are you reacting from the Christ mind or from the human perspective? And so, the issue here about free will that we can at least focus on for this particular answer, again, it's not a thorough discussion about free will. So you have the free will of yourself versus the free will of others. But again, this depends on from which vantage point are you looking at the issue. So the question for you as a spiritual student is, when I look at the actions of other people and how I react to them, or how their actions override my free will, your first and primary concern should be, how free is my personal will? The more you are trapped in duality, the more you go below the 48th level of consciousness, the less free your will becomes. This will contradict what the fallen beings would tell you. They would say, it's only by reacting against God's will that we claimed our free will. And therefore, the more powerful we are, the more powerful of a separate self we have built, the more free will we have. The more free is our will, because we are willing to do anything we want, regardless of the consequence that it has for others. That is ultimate free will. That is, of course, the lie of the fallen beings. The more you go into this state of mind, the lower you go in consciousness, the less free your will becomes. Because you are reacting against something. Whether you see yourself reacting against God or against other people, the reaction against something means your will is not free. Because when your will is free, you are standing there in the situation, whatever the situation is. You have no reactionary patterns. You have no preconceived opinions about what you should or should not do. You're completely free to make a decision how to respond to a given situation. That's free will. You don't really attain a really free will until you reach the 96th level of consciousness. But it isn't completely free until you're ready to ascend. But at least at the 96th level, when you pass the initiation there, your will is, for all practical purposes, free. You still have the separate cells, but these are not really cells that limit your will in the sense that they are reactionary patterns that force you to react a certain way. Does respecting the free will of others mean that we allow evil people to steal our free will without reacting? Well, as you approach the 96th level, you will be faced with certain initiations where you will have to allow people to do something to you and you don't react. That is the whole meaning of turning the other cheek, of not responding in kind. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. So you want to break the reactionary pattern, the dualistic pattern of always fighting with other people. You have to turn the other cheek. But what does it take to turn the other cheek? You may say other people are hitting you on one cheek and they are violating your free will. Well, yes, but if you react by hitting them back, you are not making a free choice. You are allowing a subconscious self to cause you to react. So in order to actually be hit on one cheek and turn the other, your will has to be more free than the people who are reacting. And by turning the other cheek, you are making your will more and more free until there comes a point where you pass that initiation, and therefore it's not as likely that somebody will violate your free will, because you are no longer attracting that initiation to you. Now, of course, you are in the physical realm on an unnatural planet. So there's always room for people violating your free will. But then if you don't react to it, as I've explained before, then their action brings about the judgment of Christ upon them, so that they might be taken from the planet. That's the whole point of why I let myself be arrested, be judged, be executed. Partly to bring the judgment of Christ, partly to demonstrate that I could allow this to happen to me, not have a reaction. And that actually demonstrated that my will had become so free that I didn't need to resist anything. You see what I'm trying to say? As long as you are resisting and reacting to things here on earth, you are not free to leave the earth. What does it take for you to leave the earth? That your will is so free that you can choose not to react to anything here. And like the Buddha under the bo tree, look at the demon Samara without reacting, and then turn around and walking through the gate into the ascended realm. That is the ultimate use of free will.